was saying that on the first day. Take care of that back at base ops.
This area behind us is where all the MDA operations go. This is where they do their missile launches from back in here.
I see.
World War II, every time a Navy task force went by Wake Island, they would either bomb it or shell it. So the Japanese out here were getting pounded all the time, but they never were invaded. Bunch of revetments over here. These were built by the Japanese. I'll show you another setup here that are a little easier to get to. So they had their fighter planes parked in these revetments as protection. And these are both National Historic Landmarks, these revetments.
We saw last night that down at the down there by the chow hall, there was a bunker that was built. I guess the POWs were forced to build that.
Yes, that was the Admiral's command bunker. Okay, so here's some more of those bunkers that were built by the by American prisoners of war. By the way, none of these pine trees were out here. These were brought out probably around 1970 and then just took over the island. They're Australian pines, or ironwoods we call them. They're a really noxious tree. They grow like weeds.
Do you know why they were brought out here?
Oh, nobody really knows. I've heard two stories. One that the Boy Scouts brought them out because they thought it would beautify the island. And the other was that somebody brought them out to try to provide a windbreak for the runway. These bushy looking things are heliotrope and they are native to the island. Now this next bunker I'm going to show you, we just discovered a couple of weeks ago, and it was discovered by accident. This is the automatic weather station right here. And I had a couple of my people out here with a hydraulic man lift truck to go up and do some service work on this tower. And so they parked the truck right over here. Started putting the hydraulic legs down, and it poked a hole right through the ground. And what we found was a bunker down there. It's underneath all this stuff, down about 12 feet.
No kidding.
And it was not a Japanese bunker there. It was an American bunker because it's got structural steel in it. But this one almost certainly was built by the Americans before the invasion. We were hoping we'd find maybe good swords that we could take. So we there's over 100 bunkers on the island, but this one's unique in that it probably was built by Americans.
Wow. You can really hear that ocean roaring over here too.
On this side.
Holy cow.
Usually the seas around here are pretty calm and flat, especially on this side of the island.
It's really roaring over there.
It's part of this tropical depression that's up north of Wake that's causing these seas. This is about as rough as I've ever seen it. The same system that caused all that rain for the last several days.
You can kind of see the ocean spray in the air.
Yeah.
Kind of misty.
That's why everything corrodes out here so quickly. There's so much salt in the air that it just sets up the stage for galvanic corrosion.
The road over here is much nicer than on the other side.
landing craft mediums there. We used up until a year ago. We had in the water, and we use them to move stuff in and out of the harbor, like barges and things. But we were told to retire them, so they all had to be jerked up and put on the shore. They'll scrap them out. We're also doing some reclamation. So down in the area where the Missile Defense Agency is a place called Peacock Point. And for years, the Air Force and the Army and whoever else was out here was dumping crap out there. And so lately we've had to go in and dig all that stuff out of the ocean and pile it up here for eventually to be hauled off the island. But they just took whatever garbage or junk or scrap they had and just threw it in the water.
Wow.
And then
Looks
now
like shit dam with the boneyard.
well, now we got to go in and pick all that stuff out and get it shipped off.
What do you do with normal trash on this island?
We incinerate stuff that can be incinerated, and the other stuff like steel, we'll chop it up and we'll barge it out. Aluminum, plastics, all of that stuff. We basically, well, there's no way to leave it out here. We have to ship everything off. If it doesn't burn, we ship it. This is where we bring our fuel ashore. So a ship will anchor offshore here between those buoys you see bobbing in the waves, and then we float fuel lines out to them and bring them into that point right there. Just park here. They were going to make this a submarine base, but before they could complete it, the Japanese invaded. This used to be a straight cut right through into the lagoon. This causeway that you see here was probably put in 20 or 30 years ago. Where we would tie a barge up when it comes in, and then we'd use the crane back there to lift off the containers. That's a tide shack. U.S. Geological Survey has a tide gauge there for measuring tidal flow out here. We take care of that for them also. This is Rick Noggle's sailboat. He built that out here.
He built it?
He built it out of scrap. So it's a steel sailboat, and he worked on that. He's been working on it for 12 years.
Oh my God.
So that whole hull was built by Rick and the welder out here using scrap steel, and he bought the mast and stuff like that. But for the most part, everything you see on that is stuff that he built out here. It's getting near to the point where it might actually sail. It's been in the water for about a year now. Before that, it used to sit down near Supply where he was doing all the work on it.
Built out of scrap.
Right. All the keel in there is leftover steel and lead and whatever else you could find out there for the ballast. But it's kept him occupied for a dozen years. And what's really funny is Rick has never sailed a boat in his life. And he designed it himself. That's his own design.
That's amazing. Whose little boat is that?
This is Tomb's boat. We had a base commander out here who bought that about 8 or 9 years ago, and then when he left, he just gave it to one of the ties. So that's Tomb's boat. These are a closer shot of the LCMs that we used to have in the water. We used to take those out diving and fishing. They were a lot of fun. They rocked and rolled a lot, but you could put the forward ramp down and literally walk into the water.
So you don't do any deep sea fishing?
Yeah, we have a fishing boat out here months to certified people. And that's the dive club right down there. Very good price. It's free. And the boat's free and the equipment is free, and so it's a great place to dive out here. Usually nowhere near as rough as you're seeing it today.
Something floating out there. Looks like maybe a turtle or something.
But we do have a few turtles out here.
Kind of floating out there.
Mm-hmm.
What, do you see something that looks like a turtle?
It's
We also have flounder and stuff like that.
okay. Yeah, I can't quite make out what kind of sea life it is, but
The fishing out here is very good. It's world class because there's no commercial fishing around here.
Is that by law or just because it's so isolated?
Well, because the U.S. government doesn't grant fishing rights to anybody. We fish, but commercial fishermen are not allowed out here. Now you can actually see where this cut used to go right through into the lagoon. You see where it's darker blue right in here?
Mm-hmm.
That's where they just blasted the coral out to make a channel for the submarines. And that lagoon is also where the Pan Am and Navy flying boats used to land. There's a ramp over on Peale where the flying boats used to come out of the water. Used to be a hotel over there too that Pan Am had.